Welcome back, everyone. It's time to start planting. For those of you that are new to the channel or aren't up to speed, I'm sitting just a small 2-acre farm field. This is actually a neighbor's field. I'm leasing it this year. It's been in corn and beans, just a corn and bean rotation for as long as I can remember. And when I was granted access to this field earlier this year, I basically had 4 choices that I had to decide what to do with it. The first one being plant it into perennial cool season pastures. So just like the rest of the acres that I own and the acres that I lease, just to give me a few more acres of grazing. The other option was to plant it in perennial warm season forages. And I looked into this, decided that it was gonna be a little bit too much work for the amount of time that I had this year. Then the last 2 options, plant it into a hay field. So whether that was mixed grass for hay or clover or pure alfalfa, whatever, use that as a small square bale hay field for me. Ultimately though, what I decided to do is the 4th option, which is plant it into annual warm season forages. So planted every year into a bunch of different cover crop species and warm season annuals that the cows will be utilized to essentially harvest this in that summer slump. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the fact that cool season perennial pastures are great during the spring and the fall. You get into that late June, July, August, middle September type of time frame, and those forages completely stop growing. Not only that, but those are the pastures that I really want to try and stockpile to get as much grazing into the winter as I can. You just can't have a good regrowth if those cool season perennial pastures are being grazed in, July, August, even in September. You really want to have the cows off of that by the end of June. That's my take. So I started thinking that having this 2 acres planted into really high quality, high protein, high energy summer annuals is going to be the best way to get me through hopefully those 2 months of lack of growing for those cool season grasses. So the first thing that I had to do a few weeks ago was spray some herbicide on this pasture to take care of the weeds, to give what I was planting the best chance of success. So I used a 53% glyphosate product, which is also known as a 5-pound product. I mixed it with 50 gallons of water, ended up being a half gallon of the glyphosate, and then I used a half quart of 80/20 surfactant. Obviously, I had to mix it all up and make sure that I applied it at the proper rate, which was about 4 miles an hour going through the pasture, 30 PSI off the sprayer with the tips about 16 inches off the ground. So I wanted to get that done at least a week in advance. Everything that I had read and heard was that you really want to give about 7 days at a bare minimum to let that glyphosate really work. The video footage you're seeing now was kind of towards the end of the tank. It ended up being 2 full passes again at 4 miles an hour. So it kind of looks like there's nothing in the tank, but I set up the camera once I was really just kind of getting the rest of that stuff out of the tank. So it worked great. I had a really good knockdown of, I'd say, 95% of the weeds. I did have some cheatgrass that seemed to make it through. And then the issue I ran into was rains coming after the glyphosate had been applied. Now, because we got all of that rain, it required me to change my plan. The original plan was to borrow from my neighbor a no-till 4-row planter for corn. I was going to broadcast seed everything else, no-till drill corn into the ground. Well, all that rain came, it set him back, and he is actually still currently using his planter. I knew I couldn't wait anymore. The stuff that I'm planting is anywhere from 60 to 90 day maturity, and with it being the middle of May, I really wanted to get the cows out here July 1st, so I'm already well behind my target grazing date. So I had to get this done as soon as possible. He suggested that I borrow his 11-foot disc, do a light disc over it, go through, broadcast all of the seed, including the corn seed, because technically this BMR corn can be broadcasted on. Then go through a second time, disc it in a little bit more just to work it into the soil. That seed to soil contact is so important for this stuff that just spreading it on the field wasn't going to give me much of a chance of success. So again, this is kind of a test year for me.
It's not a huge deal if it doesn't work out this year, but I really want to make sure that I set myself up for the best chance of success going forward, because it's going to be more imperative that I have a really good stand of summer annual crops to pack the pounds on the cows from here on out. Now, if anyone is curious about what I'm planning, I'm going to put everything in my mix in the description down below, but basically what I'm doing here is I'm just alternating between the BMR 84 corn and everything else that was bagged separately. Again, I was going to drill that corn in, so I made sure I had that in its own bag. But I'm working with Green Cover Seed out of Nebraska. They're a great company. I've used them in the past. They were a lot of help in kind of helping me decide what I should be trying this year. And what I came up with was every suggestion that they had, I just went ahead and said, yep, put it in the mix. I want to see what sticks, what grows, what the cows like, and then I can go from there next year. Here I am making my second pass. Again, I'm going a little bit deeper just to get good seed incorporation into the soil. So I'm really excited to see if this works. I'll definitely keep you guys posted. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks about anything you saw, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you at the next one.